Good morning, my friends. It's Tuesday morning, and I'm out of school today because of the bad weather that we're having here, calling for heavy winds and a lot of rain. So that might mean trees are down. So got up this morning, hadn't had a shower, but this is real life. I'm gonna make biscuits today. Okay, got out my skillet, and I'm gonna show you the ingredients. I haven't posted the recipe ahead of time. So I'll go over that with you, but just wanted to share this with you this morning. I thought, ooh, what a good day to maybe make a pan of biscuits if you've got all the ingredients at home, and how much kids would like that with a little bit of jelly and some butter. I thought that sounded good, so I thought I'd share it. My nieces, Meredith, Harmon, Ashley Wright, Kelsey Easley, and my daughter Mackenzie. This is for y'all. This is your Mama Pat's recipe. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this. We'll go back to our pan in a minute. Here are your ingredients that you're going to need today. That is self-rising flour, whole buttermilk, Crisco, and baking powder. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to show you my tools that I use when I'm making biscuits. Now, this is my biscuit bowl. I keep this bowl like this all the time. It's got flour all over it. See, I use it all the time. You keep this ready to make your biscuits at all times, okay? So the first time that you make your biscuits, you'll want to buy a big bag of flour, self-rising flour, and I like the white lily, because it's going to take a good bit of flour to have in your bowl and then to make your biscuits, okay? All right, so inside my bowl, I keep my sifter. I just keep it in there so I have everything together. And buried down in here, here's my biscuit cutter, and I just keep all this like this all the time. It's in my pantry, okay? So I'm gonna set that to the side. Show you about my flour. Now, the flour, I keep it like this all the time, and you'll see why in a minute. But you want to clean your flour at some point after you make biscuits or before you make biscuits. Now, it just so happens that the other night, try to get this where you can see me a little better. The other night, when I made biscuits, I had a little bit of time, so I went ahead and cleaned my flour. And what that means is, when you make your dough in this bowl, and you pull it out to cut your biscuits, you're going to leave behind a little bit of residue, whether it's a little bit of milk, just a little bit of dough. So you'll have little hard chunks in your flour because they're going to dry. And you have to clean it. Well, I had a little bit of extra time that night, so I went ahead and cleaned my flour. But all you do is just get your sifter and get you a spoon or a measuring cup, whatever you've got handy, and you'll just put your flour back in your sifter. And I usually try to work from one side, putting it in there. And you'll run your hands down in there and you'll see. I'm not going to do the whole bowl because I don't want to take up all the time, but you can feel in there and you'll feel your chunks, but all you do is just sift through your flour. Now this shouldn't have any, it might. We'll take it all the way to the bottom and see. But when you get through sifting it, any of those big chunks feel like little rocks are going to be in your sifter, and you just throw them in the trash, because you don't want to get any of that in your new batch of biscuits. So I recommend, if you've got time to do this before you put your biscuit bowl up at night, just sit it to the side, and when you think clean your kitchen up, clean your flour for the next time. You won't have to do this. Well, this doesn't have much. You can see there's a little bit in there. So let me throw this away. So I've got my flour clean. All right, I'm just going to spread it out in there like that. It's ready. The first thing you want to do is you want to get your containers opened and your pan ready, because your hands are going to get messy and you don't want to be handling stuff. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to shake my buttermilk real good. Make sure you use whole buttermilk. Okay, don't use fat-free, use whole. These biscuits are not healthy. Okay, so don't eat a whole bunch of them. Get your lid off. Go ahead and get your lid off. Go ahead and get your lid off your flour. And I'll give you a little tip. When I buy flour, I go ahead and bring it home and put it in my flour bin. And I keep a label cut in here so that I know what kind of flour this is. I go ahead and keep me a cup in here to get it out with, just to save you some time, okay? And I label my things too, just in case something would happen to my label this in there. I've got 2 cans of Crisco tonight because I don't know why I have 2, but I'm using out of 2 different cans, and I just don't understand why I'm doing that. I don't need to do that. So anyway, I'm gonna finish up with 1 today, and I'm gonna get my lid off of my baking powder. Okay. And I like the Clabber Girl, but store brand's wonderful. Okay. Sometimes name brand is better. I really can't tell the difference when it comes to baking powder, but I just always grab the Clabber Girl. I've got an old antique Clabber Girl can somewhere up on one of my shelves, but I really love it. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to get our pan ready. I'm going to move this out of the way for a second so you can see. Alright, and this is just my cast iron biscuit pan. Just getting some Crisco on my fingers. And you're just going to coat your pan. Now, if you don't have one of these, which a lot of you don't, because I've been getting tons of messages wanting to know where to buy cast iron. Everybody's getting into that now. And I've been in it a long time, but I've just recently gotten interested in the enameled. You can just use a regular baking pan. Same thing. These just brown up a little bit better on the bottom. Just do a little bit better. But these are very inexpensive. I'll tell you about this in a minute. Now I'm going to rinse off my hands. What I was going to tell you about the cast iron. At the Lodge store down in Concord Mills or in Sevierville, those are the only 2 that I've been to because there's only 4 in the United States. They have a section that is I think they call it the seconds. I think that's what they call it. But anyway, it's a room. It's a whole section. It's not first quality. Now you might see a pit or something in it, but it's very usable. Some of it's scratched. You wouldn't want to get something that's scratched. So, but just look for blemishes in it or whatever, and if it doesn't bother you and it's not unsafe to use, that's what I go to. So keep that in mind. I think something like this probably costs $12 maybe. In that second section, that's how much it's going to cost. Okay. All right. Got everything open. I've got my pan ready. My oven is preheating on 450. And I use a convection oven, so if you're using a regular oven, I want you to preheat it to 500. Yeah, 500. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, and again, this is my mama's recipe, okay? So you got your flour like this. You want to make a bird nest. Can you see that? I just made a bird nest. All right. And now you want to put in your new flour. 1, 2, 3, okay? And now you're going to sift. And it's going to make a little mountain here in the middle. And this is fun too. Teach your kids how to make biscuits. They will love this. They'll love getting in there and putting on an apron and making biscuits. Kelsey, you teach your boys. Meredith has 5 children. 5 children. Get in there and teach them all at the same time, Meredith. Okay, so that was how unclean, just straight out of the bag was. All right, now we'll put our flour back. And now we're going to make another bird nest in our new flour, not quite as deep as we did before. Now, your ingredients start going in. Now, my mother always told me, she said, we'd be talking, I remember me telling you how she used to talk to me. She'd say, Amy, you put in 3 fingers of baking powder. Now, I put in my 3 fingers, and that's how much baking powder. You can't see it. That's how much baking powder I pull out, okay? So what I did ahead of time is I measured it. Guess what it comes out to be? It comes out to be 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Now how she knew her 3 fingers was 1 tablespoon, and why she didn't say 1 tablespoon, but that's how she measured it, and that's how I measure it too, 3 fingers. So you're just going to put your 3 fingers or your 1 tablespoon of baking powder right there in the middle. A lot of people have questioned me on why my mother used baking powder and self-rising flour. I don't know, but they're good. And the next thing she told me is she said that she used 4 fingers of Crisco. She'd just take her hand there, and I'm not going to mess my hands up, and she would come out with 4 fingers of Crisco. Well, I measured that out for you this morning too. Guess what that came out to? 1/4 of a cup, okay? So that's what we're going to use. And that's 4 fingers, y'all. 4 of my fingers. And about 4 fingers of my mama's. See? Okay? And you just put that right there in the middle. Now, here's the fun part. Just take your fingers and just work it. Start bringing some of that flour around it. Bring it in. This is where some of those little rocks that I was telling you about comes from. Can you see? I'm just playing with it, basically. Okay? See? And I'm picking up flour as I'm doing this. And now it's just kind of like in little flakes. I'm going to roll it off my fingers. Get it in there. Get a little flour on that. Alright, now wasn't that easy? I just played with it. Just dabbled around with it. Can you see? Alright, now I'm going to start adding our buttermilk. Alright? I'm just going to pour it. See my hands? Just leave your hands. Don't worry about it. Keep your left hand clean. If you're left-handed, keep your right hand clean for pouring. Just pour your buttermilk in the middle. Remember, I shook it up good a minute ago. Now just take your hand and just keep playing with it. Think about when you were a little girl and you played in the mud, made mud pies. Did you ever make mud pies? I did. All right, now, see how it is? You can pick it. Start taking your hand, wiggling around. Keep working. Now, that's not enough dough, so I want some more. I'm going to add some more buttermilk. Haven't measured it. Now, you can keep going with this, and you can make a big old ball of dough, but I don't want that. I'm just making enough for for you to give your kids a little snack this morning, or for me and David to eat on a couple days, because these do, I just throw them in a Ziploc bag and they do heat up good in the microwave, just for, God, 5 seconds, doesn't take long. All right, now, that's as much dough as I want. See that? Now I'm gonna get my other hand messy here for a minute. We'll clean off my fingers. All right, now, this dough is it's not good to work with, okay? So reach right here and get you some of this loose flour and start sprinkling it on top and pat. Pulling in these sides, okay? And just kind of working it a little bit, bringing in some flour with it. Not too much, but you don't want it to get too dry. Just where it's manageable. See how I'm doing it? I'm just kind of rolling it around and flipping it over. This is called kneading it, okay? You're kneading your dough, all right? Okay. So now we got a good firm dough. Now, slide your bowl out of the way and bring in your sheet that you're going to cut your biscuits on. Okay? All right. You want to take flour, put it down. I'm going to move my camera so you can see better. Just a second, I'm going to clean my hands up. All right. And then just flop your dough down. All right. Let me clean up this hand so I can move my camera for you. All right, there we've got it on our dough. Okay. All right, now you want to just kind of move this around on the pad. I just use a plastic cutting board. Take your hands, just pat it out. Now I will just pat it. A lot of people use a rolling pin, and my mother did. It's probably why her biscuits were a lot prettier than mine are. Let me grab my rolling pin. It's right here. Let's roll it. You don't want to get them too thin. Okay? There we go. Now, dip your biscuit cutter down in your flour and twist. 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 Okay, I'll grab my pan. Get this out of the way. Just lay them on your pan, and you want your biscuits touching. Okay? Shake off any excess flour too that you might have. All right, what you got left, just bring it all back together. Work it. I'll get my rolling pin again. Again, you can do it with your hands, but they might not be quite as pretty as do it that way. Cut. Now, like I said, I didn't want to make a big old pan of biscuits this morning, so I've got 6. I'm sorry, 6. I would normally have 8. And the baby. Now, this is the baby biscuit, okay? I was the baby in the family. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and cut one more. And then we'll make this the baby. Get up all my little scraps here. And I was the baby in the family, so I got the baby biscuit. It's usually a little bit bigger than this. Just take your leftover dough. Roll it up. Pat it out. Put it in the middle. That's the baby biscuit. Whoever the baby is in the family, they get that one. And it was always me. My brother David was always mad because I got the baby biscuit. Because he was the baby for 9 years. Boo-hoo. Okay, so that's it. Now, we've got this awful mess on our hands. Let me show you how to clean that up, okay? Trash can over. And my biscuit flour. And I'm just going to put my hands in that biscuit flour. I'm going to put you down on my trash can. If I can get it down there. Back so you can see it. I'm just going to take some flour, my hands, and just roll. And that feels so good after having that on your hands, just to roll that off. See, basically clean. All right, now okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put them in the oven, remember? If you have a convection oven, we're going to do 450. If you have a regular oven, we're going to do 500. I'm going to put them in the oven, and I'll be back in a minute. We'll see how they turn out. We're going to cook them till they're golden brown, okay? I can't tell you a time. Every oven's different. You just want them good and golden brown, okay? They're going to be done in the middle, cooking at that temperature. Don't burn them. Keep an eye on them. I'll be back in a minute. They're ready. I'm just going to grab them because it's hard for me to handle the hot pan and the camera at the same time, so I'm just going to grab them. Hold on just a second. Get you ready for them. Look at there. Doesn't that look good? See the little baby there in the middle? They look good, don't they? I've got me a little plate out here. Little pottery plate. That's a Taylor Short pottery, if anybody knows her. Look, doesn't that look good? How perfect that is. Steaming hot. Now, I don't have any jelly. Thought I did. I cleaned out the refrigerator during Christmas because I had so much stuff in there. And I think I threw away a little bit in the jar. We don't eat much jelly unless it's homemade, and I don't have any homemade. Okay, put my butter on there, put the top on there. And that's gonna melt, be so good. Here's the baby now. Let that baby have the baby biscuit. And I guess I'm the baby here today. So let me just taste it. They're crunchy, but the inside's so fluffy and so good. Now this was my mama's recipe. If you grew up on the Dover Mill Hill, you probably remember her, Pat Wright. And she was an excellent cook. She taught me a lot, and I miss her. But this is for my girls, Ashley, Meredith, and Kelsey, and my daughter Mackenzie. So y'all take this recipe, write it down. Remember, it was 1/4 of a cup of Crisco, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. But make it your own. Figure your 3 fingers. Figure your 4 fingers. Make it your recipe. I hope you have a beautiful day. The weather's horrible here inside. Spend time in the Word. Take time to get your Bible and slip off somewhere and spend time reading and just focusing on how blessed you are. And let's pray today about this storm. It's supposed to be really bad. So let's just remember all the first responders who are out working in this today, and all the people that are on the road. Mackenzie and Corey both will be on the road later this afternoon. They made it to Charlotte okay this morning, but I worry about them getting home. I might go get the kids a little bit early today and let them have a biscuit. But I love you, and I'll see you next time.